At the start, the story moves to Eric Love, a 19-year-old going from a youth jail to a high-security adult prison. This change happens because Eric has a history of violence, and now he's in the same prison as his dad, Neville Love, who has a life sentence. When Eric gets there, he has to go through strict checks, which is normal for new prisoners. This includes a full search and getting prison clothes. Then, guards take him to his cell. This is Eric's first time in an adult prison, and he feels really upset and sad about it. Alone in his cell, Eric quickly makes a simple weapon from things he has and hides it. He then organizes his cell and starts exercising, trying to feel in control. When it's time for lunch, Eric tries to get a lighter from another prisoner, McDonald, but doesn't get one, so he eats alone. Then, he gets into a fight with Jago, another prisoner, over food, but guards stop it and take him back to his cell. Later, in the yard, Eric sees Jago doing something wrong. Then, his dad, Neville, talks to him, telling him to stay out of trouble to get out of prison faster. Eric doesn't really listen to his dad. Back in his cell, McDonald comes to see him, and because of their past problem, Eric thinks McDonald is there to hurt him, so he attacks and knocks him out. After a serious fight that hurt another prisoner, McDonald badly, Eric Love quickly tells the prison guards, showing he knows how serious the situation is. He goes back to his cell, scared of what will happen next. To prepare, Eric covers himself in baby oil to make it hard for anyone to hold him, and makes weapons from his table legs. This shows he's used to having to protect himself. When the Deputy Governor Haynes tells the guards to go into Eric's cell, Eric fights back, and even takes a guard as a hostage, hoping people will understand he didn't mean to fight with McDonald. He asks the guards if they believe he didn't mean to do it, wanting them to see him in a good light. Eric gives up when he's promised they believe him, but moving him to another place gets violent, showing how unpredictable he can be. Then, Oliver, a volunteer therapist, steps in. Oliver puts Eric in a room alone and suggests he join counseling, aiming to help rather than punish him. The talks with the prison bosses about letting Eric try therapy show how hard it is to deal with behavior problems in prison while keeping things under control. Eric's dad, Neville, secretly tries to make sure Eric is safe by talking to Dennis, an important prisoner. This shows how complex relationships and power are in prison. Neville meets with Eric secretly, showing how strong family bonds are, even in tough times. He warns Eric about how dangerous prison can be. The story goes back to everyday prison life, with Eric watching what other prisoners, like Jago and McDonald, who's getting better, do. Eric steals a lighter from Jago and gives it to McDonald, showing how things keep changing in prison. In a tough moment at the prison, Jago gets really upset when his cell is searched, showing how complicated life in prison is. Eric Love watches from his cell and seems to be okay with the trouble happening. This shows how tricky it can be to get along with other prisoners and places Eric in a complicated spot among them. The story moves on as Neville Love takes his son to see Oliver, a volunteer therapist, for a talk. Eric smokes where he's not supposed to and argues with the guards, which gets him kicked out of the talk. This shows Eric's trouble with following rules. Oliver then asks the group to help Eric, showing he thinks Eric can be helped by working together. But the struggle for power in the prison shows up again when Jago pays 3 prisoners to attack Eric. The fight stops quickly thanks to Hassan from Oliver's group, pointing out how important help from others can be in stopping violence. Hassan tells Eric not to fight back, showing that good advice can come from other prisoners. Oliver visits Eric to ask him back to the talks, sharing personal stories that help them understand each other better. This chat opens up about their tough pasts and looks into why people act violently. As the talks go on and Eric starts to get involved and change his behavior, the story explores how hard it is to deal with a past filled with violence, and to create a helpful space in a place as tough as prison. Oliver's skill in calming tense moments in the group shows how therapy might help change deep-seated anger. However, things get complicated when Neville doesn't like Eric hanging out with black prisoners, showing personal and wider social issues. Eric's choice to go to the gym with Hassan and others is a small step toward making better relationships. Neville Love, watching Eric and other prisoners working out in the gym, shows there's tension and complicated feelings between them inside the prison. When Eric sees his dad watching, he almost stops exercising, but Tyrone helps him keep going, showing how friends can help in tough times. Things get worse when Eric is attacked in the shower by someone Jago paid. The attacker tries to choke Eric, but Eric fights back, learns who sent the attacker, and decides to get back at Jago with a homemade weapon. This fight shows Jago's control behind the scenes, and brings Eric face to face with prison's hidden rules. With Dennis being a big boss even the warden listens to, Neville steps in to stop Eric from fighting Dennis, showing he wants to protect Eric, but also control him. Dennis then tells Eric to stop fighting and offers him a chance to join his side, making Eric think hard about loyalty and how to survive in prison. As Eric keeps going to Oliver's therapy sessions, he starts to change. These talks and exercises help him handle his anger better, and everyone notices his improvement. But this good period is shaken when Neville suddenly comes into a therapy session, causing trouble that Eric decides to avoid, showing he's learning to handle problems without fighting. Then, a fight breaks out between Hassan and Tyrone over a joke that went too far, showing that even among friends, things can quickly get heated. This situation highlights the ongoing struggle Eric has with making friends, growing as a person, and living in a place as tough as prison. Eric Love's time in prison gets really rough after a big problem happens during a therapy talk, leading to him being kicked out of the group. The head of the prison says this has to happen, even though Oliver, the person running the therapy, tries to fix things. This shows how strict rules are in prison and how easy it is to lose chances to get better. After this, things get worse between Eric and his dad, Neville. Eric fights Neville, and even though Neville doesn't fight back, it's clear they have a lot of unresolved issues and anger between them. The fight gets even more intense when Dennis, a big deal in the prison's secret rules, gets hurt by mistake. The guards stop things from getting deadly, showing they're always watching but also hinting at how quickly things can turn violent among prisoners. Neville worries about Eric after the fight and wonders why Dennis isn't saying anything about it, which shows he knows how tricky relationships and power plays in prison can be. Neville then takes big risks to keep Eric safe, like taking down a guard by himself and trying to make things right with Dennis, showing he'll do anything for his son. But then, a very scary plan comes out where guards, led by Deputy Governor Haynes, attack Eric in his cell, making it look like he took his own life. This shows a very dark side of how some in power might abuse their power against prisoners they see as trouble. Things take a turn when Dennis shows he's not really on Neville's side after all by attacking him, showing how fast friends can turn into enemies in prison. This twist shows how dangerous and unpredictable life can be there, with people changing sides and becoming dangerous very quickly. Neville Love ends up fighting Dennis, a big shot in the prison, and Dennis dies because of it. After this, Neville rushes to Eric's cell and finds a very scary scene. Eric is about to be hanged by the guards. Neville acts fast and makes Haynes cut Eric down, showing how far a dad will go to save his son. This moment brings them closer, showing they really care about each other as family. Later, Eric is getting better in the hospital part of the prison, and his friends from the therapy group show their support from outside, giving him a bit of hope and a feeling of not being alone. The story moves to Eric meeting his dad for one last time because Neville is going to be moved to a different prison as a punishment for protecting Eric. Their goodbye is really touching, with a big hug, and Neville telling Eric he's proud of him. This shows how much they've changed and become closer through all the tough times in prison. Their story ends here, showing how tough prison life can be on people and their relationships, but also how strong, brave, and loving they can become in such hard situations.